This is the sheepskin. It's for grounding. It makes you feel grounded. Okay, hello, good evening-ish. We need to do this all in 30 minutes before the sun sets and the lighting gets terrible, so let's get into it. Today on the channel, it's going to be an extremely comprehensive, in-depth look at how I've been living in my car. We'll be covering my general strategy for packing, what I have packed, where it's packed, some additions and subtractions that I've made. I'm at a random parking lot, so people are gonna be distracting me. I've been living in my car for over a month now. My needs have definitely shifted. Finally, I have a few spiritual notes at the end. After all, this is a spirituality wellness channel. Because this is quite long, I will be including chapters, so feel free to skip around as you feel inspired. Is it tour day? I'm feeling inspired to give you the tour. Let's get dressed and then get into it. I was ready for the tour, now I'm tired, but let's try it anyway. The car is basically split up into areas. If you're living in a house, you might call these rooms. Mudroom, bedroom, half bath. I'll let you guess which half. Murphy bed, hall closet, home fitness center, pantry, altar. There is the living space, and then there's sleeping storage space. Welcome to the trunk. This is where the majority of everything lives, breathes, most of the activity that happens. After many different trials, I think we have the final configuration. Adventure gear, laundry, bed, things that I don't want to wash yet, but are dirty. This is the sleeping side. My strategy for sleeping is to put the two-seater down, and then because I'm bougie, I have 2 sleeping pads and then a standard sheet set as well as a thicker sleeping bag for when it's cold. Ta-da! The Murphy bed. I do put it away and take it out every night. I try to keep all of my packing clear of that area so that's as quick as possible. This was a game changer. I had not considered the direction that I was sleeping, but I had kind of just assumed that I wanted to be as interior to the car as possible. But that meant that my head was always kind of falling off, or I had to scrunch up. I think this was because there were some lights on in a parking lot. I realized it was going to be better if I flipped. Wow, revolutionary. Head towards the trunk. Now just my feet hang off. It's like not a big deal at all. This has had to change because I didn't pop it. It popped mysteriously for warranty purposes. An AXL Big Agnes sleeping pad, and now I have the Rapide sleeping pad. Really grateful to Big Agnes. They're actually super generous with their warranty. So this wasn't my fault for warranty purposes, but just in case we were to find the cause of the problem, it's quite possible that a hole was created or like melted. The pad was inflating a lot during the day because it was getting so hot, so the air was actually expanding. This is why now every day I do deflate the pad, which is like a little annoying, but I do think it's necessary and worthwhile to do that. It also adds to the safety feature as far as like making it less clear that I'm sleeping in my car. I've just started using the hand pump thing. Generally, I just blow it up every night, which that's one thing that I regret. I have a blow up pillow and a blow up pad, and every night I get extremely lightheaded and extremely hot before it's time to go to bed. Probably why I've been having trouble sleeping. I mean, among other reasons. Initially, I was just doing a sleeping bag and I had it layered underneath me as well as on top of me. That was a result of the fact that I had landed and it happened to be in my car as my emergency blanket. A few reasons for changing. This is my sleeping bag if I'm gonna go backpacking, and I wanna have backpacking gear available for some reason. Hint, 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 hint. I also either have my main toiletries bag in that sleeping section to hold the rigidity of the layout as I'm driving around, or at night I'll bring it up next to me. So it's quite convenient and fast. Otherwise, there's not a ton of reconfiguring that I have to do with the car. Oh, it is here. Main toiletry bag. This also has a hanging organizer, which is also usually chaotically accessed, but it does make me feel slightly better. So many things I have now done in a public restroom. They're extremely embarrassing, but you are free to do them in public. You got this. The toiletries have moved around quite a bit over time, just based on what I've discovered I needed, how I've discovered I like to access things. Probably been the biggest learning for me. If I'm at a gym or another place where it's very acceptable to be doing a ridiculous number of things, then I'll bring the whole bag in, and that's great. I love that. But often I'm in the bathroom of a Whole Foods, a Casey's, a gas station, somewhere where you're not really supposed to be getting ready for bed. I try to be as incognito as possible, so I try and just throw some things in a tote bag. So I want them to be at the ready to be thrown in, not having to rifle through and unpack the main toiletries bag as much as possible. I do have a quick access toiletry bag, and that's like toothbrush, toothpaste, floss, face wash, medication, and face mask, because I also like it to sit next to me at night. I have some bougie ass toiletries. So I do have an electric toothbrush, one of the red light face things, which I found is extremely necessary. My skin has been through the ringer with this experience. The stress, the temperature regulation, my diet. You are supposed to like wipe it out every time you use it. That is a challenge. I do try to do it if I'm at the gym or in a single stall, but remembering to pull that out has been a challenge for sure. I still try to wear my retainers for you. It's all of my toiletries are for you, so you're welcome. Also, nature girl. I'm a woman, so I have a period. I use a menstrual cup, which is supposed to be boiled before every time you use it. So I have been carrying this tiny tea kettle boiler. So far I've used it once at Fitness Place. I think we're gonna begin to run into the wall of the need to charge things. So my electric toothbrush, the red light thing, the Diva cup boiler, figuring out when and where to charge those, plus all of my technology. It's been easier when I have been at work. So we'll see how that develops. Main clothes bag, secondary coat closet clothes bag. Basically everything I'm gonna wear for the next foreseeable future fits within this bag. I have a hanging organizer that has everything contained within there. And then this secondary bag is basically like a coat closet. It's all of my warm gear, my outerwear, and then like my super cute outfits that I'm never gonna wear. The clothes have changed dramatically because it was initially what I just came back from Europe with, which is a lot more summery, beachy, vibey, cute. And I got a lot more practical as far as things that I could wear through a variety of seasons, as well as conditions, layers, and also a little bit of professional wear in case I haven't told you some things that would make that make sense. That's fine. Kind of kitchen. I really haven't been cooking, so it's been easy to have it slotting in back there, and it also fits really well with some of the other camping gear that I'm also not actively accessing. I do have a small canister stove, a pot, a cutting board, a knife, silverware. I think I accidentally threw away my short spoon, so now I just have a long spoon, which is honestly fine. It works way better for me since I'm usually eating out of little pouches that are very deep anyway. I might get more into cooking when I'm doing the thing that I haven't told you that I'm gonna do yet. We'll see how the cooking situation develops. I did finally invest in a Swiss Army knife because I bought my first can of beans and realized I had no way to open a can. My pantry is just a tote bag. I go to the grocery store every couple of days. I do eat out a lot. We'll go into more detail about how I eat and feed myself in the next video, but suffice it to say, I really don't have a ton of food storage. I don't have a ton of cutlery, utensils, whatever. I had started out with a hard-sided cooler, but I found it just took up so much space, and the condensation that I would get inside was not worth it. Welcome to the control center. There's not a ton that I keep up here since this is where I am driving. I'm also trying to keep the appearance that I'm not living in here. Believe it or not, I actually did clean before this. I mean, or not, that's your call. I try to do as few things in my car as possible. It's more like the things that I would access for living, which I'll actually do in other locations. The main aspects, my spiritual practices, power and charging, and then seating and comfort. I did finally take up the space to have my super light camping chair in case I go backpacking, apparently for filming the last video. Power. I do have this power bank. This is also a jump starter for my car. I really haven't used it so far. In general, rather just start driving and charge from my 2 chargers or just post up at a coffee shop. I am really grateful that my car, it actually has 2 cigarette lighters. One of them I have like the tuner and it also has a charger, and then the other one I did a 3-slot USB charger. So I can get quite a lot going on. I'm a little worried at some point I'm gonna like drain the battery or something, but I don't know, it's been fine so far. Maybe I'll be fine. I store all of the laundry items in the living space. I did get this laundry detergent that's hyper concentrated, so it takes up a very small amount of space. I'm a stain master, so I do have to have a stain spray thing that needs to be used on everything. My armory. We'll talk more about safety measures in the next video, but Yes, this is currently what I'm packing. Don't decide that I'm a target based on that. Obviously, we have a lot of spiritual gear, yoga mat, yoga strap, more crystals than you can count. Luckily, those are small. Sage, incense, lighter, two tarot decks. I'm proud of myself. I left one of them. A few spiritual texts do make me feel very grounded and centered. Altar area. I do sacrifice a cup holder in order to have that. The spiritual vibes will develop over time. We were very minimal on that in the beginning. My car feels dramatically different now having these items in it, so I am really grateful for that. So much credit and kudos to the design team, everyone involved in this project. It's meant a lot to me. It's taken a lot to get here. We didn't do clothes because that's just too overwhelming, but in every other way, we get in there. All the unique elements really play off of each other to give this house a feeling of home. It's also making me recognize truly how important these aspects are to me. Yeah, what else? I don't know. I insert like B-roll about how everything is put together and it's magical. I do keep all of my shoes down here. This seat is pushed forward as much as possible so no one can actually sit in here. I've had a few people actually ride in the front. It is possible, it's not comfortable or enjoyable. Okay, this is not ideal. I've also edited quite a bit what type of shoes I have. I came back with beachy cute shit and I wanted to be a little bit more practical. 2 different pairs of shoes that I can take wherever I might be showering. I combined my professional weary shoes into my colder fall weather shoes, so okay, Blundstones, then a pair of hiking sneakers. I decided not to do chacos because we're getting wild. My packing strategy, I would say I easily have over 50% actual lifestyle stuff versus like day-to-day clothing, toiletries, etc. We're balancing utility, ease of access, and understanding that I might be accessing anything with little to no light. I want things that are related to be near each other, things to be accessible relative to how quickly I need them. Another one of my main considerations when packing is being as low profile as possible. In general, I feel like it's way safer if it's not clear that I'm living in my car. I'm going for the she's just kind of messy aesthetic. I try to be very sensitive that there's never anything valuable visible. I'm not always the best about that. I do need to be a little more rigorous, but that's fine. Another note about how I pack is also when I repack and unpack. Anytime I do laundry, I need to do a lot of repacking. My toiletries are constantly being repacked, and I always try to be sensitive that I'll only repack or rearrange if I'm about to leave a place. So it's very unlikely that any information that people gather while they're watching me pack and repack could be used against me for the sake of safety. Or if I'm going to do a large change in the packing, as I'm entering a place, I try to make sure that it's a place that I know and understand very well and feel very confident and comfortable there. We are in the parking lot of my office right now. I decided to be classy and go around to the other side where it's not my work. I did start the repacking effort yesterday at 3:30 in the parking lot as people are leaving. It's also a big corporate meeting this week. I was like, all right, maybe we shouldn't be acting fully this homeless in front of our office. So we're learning, we're modifying. There are certain parking lots that I know very well. Another consideration that I'm constantly needing to modify or improve on is keeping things cool. My car gets extremely hot. It has a major greenhouse effect. So I do have one of the reflector things for the front of the car. I also have some nets for the side windows so that I can either fully vent them or semi-vent them and protect against bugs. I also have one for the sunroof. However, depending on how low profile I'm trying to be, I can't use the nets. I have considered getting the little rain gutter railings, and I probably will do that at some point. I just haven't. Also thinking really tinting up my windows, but we haven't invested in that yet. The other thing that I do to try and help mediate some of the heat is I put things that I think of as being a little more heat sensitive into insulated cooler bags. There's no ice or any cooling, but at least it's keeping it somewhat cool. One thing I have noticed with that is that sometimes condensation does accumulate, so there is a need to vent them on occasion. It certainly is not foolproof. I've melted a lot of chocolate, and that's That's devastating, but it is what it is. Also, I put my sleeping bag and other blankets over items, which is both a security and an insulation measure. I guess we'll find out one day if I've ruined all of my technology, but for now it seems fine. I do want to express a ton of gratitude for my car, to my car, that it is a larger SUV model. I wouldn't be able to have the level of luxury or comfort if it wasn't for this. It allows me to have sloppy girl aesthetic and still have quite a bit of stuff, as well as being able to lay completely flat as a 5'7" woman. I could have more comfort and ease if I chose to have a roof rack. I have heavily debated the roof rack. Certainly the level of another gear that I want to be carrying, it would make it a lot easier. But for now, I know it would make my car extremely recognizable, and so I'm avoiding it for as long as humanly possible. And it's actually quite funny, when I was buying this car, a very different person than I am now. I did have the thought, well, I could sleep in it. I think about that day a lot. You never know the foresight you'll accidentally have. Also, tons of gratitude for, I'm like discovering all these new nooks and crannies in this car, like the underwells of the seats. You'd be amazed what you can get in there. Shoes that you can sneak under the backs of seats. The back containers of my seats, and I'm very clever with that. A lot of random stuff that I either want to have quick access or that I don't use frequently enough. I love my cute little crystal cubby. I can keep them next to me whenever needed. This is ridiculous, but I felt so much better when I took my crystals out of storage. Like, it was shocking even to me. There's something in those rocks. But yeah, who would have thought back in 2020 that we would be here today? I certainly did not. Even as I was leaving, I did not think we would be here. I really didn't, but here we are. We'll get into more of this later on in the series, but I have grown in my embodiment of spiritual practices through this act, namely just general awareness and intentionality in every action. When you live in your car, there's so much setting down of items. The times when I haven't been intentional, things just get lost. If I'm not careful with where I set my sleeping mask down when it's dark, like, one, I'll have a meltdown, which I do regularly do, but we're trying to avoid that. If you don't set it down with intention, it could fall into a crack, a crevice, it might be in this bag or that bag, and you just won't see it for a while. Because you're always in public reorganizing, you want to try to avoid it as much as possible. So you want to act in an organized way, which is certainly a practice for me. Thank you for joining me for this quick tour of my car. Please leave a comment if you have any suggestions, any additional questions about how I fit everything, how I've packed it. The next part, we'll be getting more into how I use these things, what I do outside of the car, the lifestyle aspects. In case you were one of the many people that drove through this parking lot as I was filming this, congratulations, now you get to know what that odd girl was doing in that random car. There's another one. This is also the last night that I will be in this city. So there's a lot changing, there's a lot to come, and thanks for hanging out. Oh my god, no.